Here with a new episode of Chordplay. This is the Chords of Widespread Panic, and I've had some requests to feature some of Widespread Panic's music along with more Jimmy Herring. And I have featured Jimmy, in a couple 3-for-All episodes. And it was recently disclosed that Jimmy has cancer and he's undergoing, treatments. I think it's stage 1 and it's his tonsils. So I definitely wish him the best and a quick recovery. And definitely Widespread Panic formed in Athens, Georgia in 1986. 12 studio albums, 7 live albums, 1 compilation. And they did release their new album just a few months ago, back in June, Snake Oil King, which is a great record. But if you're a Widespread fan, a Jimmy Herring fan, or a jam band fan, this episode's totally for you. I've been a Jimmy Herring fan ever since I was a student at AIM down in Atlanta, the Atlanta Institute of Music. And Jimmy was a former instructor at that school, and I entered the school not too long after he left. And he started working with Bruce Hampton and the Aquarium Rescue Unit. And when I entered school, I had no idea who Jimmy Herring was. I'd never even heard his name. But everybody, students, faculty, everybody was talking about Jimmy Herring, Colonel Bruce Hampton, Aquarium Rescue Unit. And I was like, who is this? So I checked it out. They had some curriculum and lessons, in the library there at the school. So I checked them out. And he blew my mind. And I started listening to, Colonel Bruce Hampton, Mirrors of Embarrassment, or whatever that album was, blew my mind. Very tasteful. And I've been a big Jimmy Herring fan ever since then. I saw him play with the Dead, where he was kind of filling in for Jerry Garcia. Definitely I met him at NAMM a couple times, him and O'Till too. But been a huge Jimmy Herring fan. Jazz is Dead, Project Z, all this stuff. Widespread for sure. But very, very cool guitarist, and he basically entered the Widespread Panic, family after the original guitarist Michael Hauser passed away. I think that was back in 2002, and then Jimmy joined forces with Widespread Panic in 2006, and he's been working with this band ever since. The chord-based and rhythm guitar examples in this episode came from 4 Widespread Panic albums, and I'm basically targeting the Jimmy Herring years. I mean, no offense to Michael Hauser. They have released 12 albums in their career, but I'm really just kind of attacking or approaching, this later area, after Jimmy Herring had joined forces with the band. There's some great chord-based and rhythm guitar parts hiding in this episode, and those last couple examples have some very hairy and interesting chord parts. So anyway, here we go. Alright, with the opening, that's Little by Little from Widespread Panic's new album Snake Oil King, which is on the wall right there, and I frantically went out yesterday looking for that album, or really any Widespread Panic, but I was able to find that one, which had just came out like literally 2 months ago. But Little by Little, it has this kind of stranglehold, like Ted Nugent's, stranglehold vibe, and it's an E instead of A, like Stranglehold, but it starts with that kind of grooving single note riff, and then this twisted kind of chord progression, which is really cool. Something like this. Something like that. So it starts with that single note kind of stranglehold variation in E. So it's So like that D to E, and then you're kind of playing with this, you know, G and A back and forth. And then you're kind of sliding in and out of the flat 5 right there, that B flat. And that's basically the intro and also the verse too. And then eventually you hear this chord part kind of creep in. Right there, it's just 3 notes, right? It's like the A, the D, and the B string for the first part. That's E minor. Change that B to a C, now it's an E minor flat 6. And you're going to relocate the C to the G string, and now it's a C sharp. So now that's an E minor 6 right there. Change that C sharp to a D, and now it's just E minor 7. So that's really cool. And then it changes. Now it's E minor 7. And then it's C major, like that. So I'm using the thumb wrap there. You could also play it like that. Then it's going to change to an A7, like that. And then change that C sharp to a D, and now it's an A7 sus4. And then repeat all that again. Cool riff. Next up's the song Welcome to My World. This came from the album Street Dogs, and this has this hybrid picked kind of riff. Really cool, like this. Kind of short and sweet right there, but we're going to basically start on this B, D to E single notes. And then you're going to be thumping the low E with your pick, and then hybrid plucking or picking, you know, these kind of 2-note, you know, partial chords. So we're doing, right? It's like a little part of E7, and then you're just kind of sneaking down. Right? And then you're going to do, so there's kind of like a melody hiding in these little kind of partial chords that are scooting around. It's like a deceptively difficult riff to play. And it's the hybrid picking. That's a cool riff. Next up's the song Stephen's Cat. This also came from the album Street Dogs, and this is really cool, like this. So we're going to basically start with this G5, this D over F sharp to an A power chord like that. And if you listen really carefully, I think that's the rhythm guitar, and then you can hear Jimmy doing that. And that's like a D over A to D5 to an A5 up there. So it's kind of played together here and here. You can kind of hear this like separation between those chords. And then the other riff that comes in, it kind of reminds me of the Rain Song from Led Zeppelin a little bit, but it's so we're going to basically move this A, partial triad right there. You're moving that down a whole step. So that's like an A7 sus2 back there. And then right there, it's like A6, A flat 6 to A5. And I think I said Rain Song. I think I'm thinking of 10 Years Gone from Led Zeppelin. My bad. But, that kind of moody Jimmy Page, kind of chording right there. Really cool, that A to A7 sus2, A6, A flat 6, A5. Last time do that A to A7 sus2, and then it's an F sharp minor right there to G, and then two A's, at the end right there. Interesting riff, and I'm definitely a sucker for those Led Zeppelin, Jimmy Page kind of style chords. Next up is the song Sell Sell. This is also from the album Street Dogs. Street Dogs is a great record, by the way. But this has this kind of powerful E minor 7 hit, and then this funky single note thing, like this. Something like that. And with the band, with the drums and everything kind of chiming in, that's got a really cool groove to it. So it's E minor 7 like that. And then you're doing this. So it's like super, scratch and sniff, that A to G to that E to the low E open. But it's pronounced, like two hard hits on that E minor 7, and then the funky scratch and sniff stuff. Next up's the song Boom Boom Boom. This came from the album Free Somehow, and this is pretty cool, like this. Something like that. So it basically starts with this, kind of E5, E6 thing, and you're kind of moving up to that E7 right there. So, and then you're going to basically slide into this partial A, and then going back to a partial G. So that E thing, and then slide that G into A and grab that, C sharp, and then slide back to that G, and then kind of play between that G and B. And that's that first riff. And then it's a D to an A over C sharp to A power chord. And then do it again. Again, that D5, A over C sharp to A. Do it again. And then it's C5 to a G over B to a G5. And then just end on B, like a B5. And that takes you right back to that first riff. Next up's the song Her Dance Needs No Body. This is also from the album Free Somehow, and I'm not gonna lie, this is a very challenging chord progression. These chords are so cool, like this. Really hard. So it's actually starting with this. So you could think of that like a C sharp minor 7. But then they keep adding this D sharp in the mix right there. So that's going to change that C sharp minor 7 to a C sharp minor add 9 when you add that D sharp. Like that. You got a fret between your pairs of fingers like that. Then the root note's going to change to A, and now it's just an A major 9, and you're also going to add that D sharp, and that's going to change it to an A major 7 sharp 11, like this. So A major 9, and then that A major 7 sharp 11. So it's mimicking the same thing we did in C sharp, but now with that A root note. Then that A root note's going to change to a B flat, and now that's going to be a B flat minor 7, flat 5, flat 9. And then you're going to add that D sharp, and now it's a B flat minor 11, A B flat minor 11 flat 5. Like that. So it's, right? That's tricky. This is the crazy chord. Remove the B flat and change the root to a G. So now it's a G6 flat 9 sharp 11. And then you're going to add that D sharp again, which that's really hairy right there. And now it's a G6 flat 5 sharp 5 flat 9. Which that's really weird. So you're going from here and that to here. And then here to there, and then this sucker to that. So that's really hard to play, but what a cool sequence of chords. Picking pattern's hard to do too. Alright, last but not least is the song Saint X. This came from the album Dirty Side Down, and as you can see I switched to an acoustic guitar, and there are actually a lot of acoustic guitar parts hiding in Widespread Panic's music, and the chords in this example are brutal. This is really hard to play. Something like this. But that opening chord, that's a big handful. That's an E major 9, like that. That's really tough. So think of like think of E major, and also think of like a B7 or B major, like that, but you're doing this. So that's tough. Because you're adding the 9th and that, that major 7 up there, that D sharp. So that's really tough right there. So you're picking through it. And then you're going to basically release that G sharp, and now you're going to play this. And that's going to be an E minor major 9. Like that. And then you want to go back to that E major 9. It's C sus2, and then you're going to basically add that that A note, so now it's like a C, C6 sus2, and then you're going to add this B note, so that's like an implied C major 7 sus2, Those chords are so hard to get clean. Good luck with that one. That's a big handful. All right, that's going to wrap this episode of Chordplay with this look at the Chords of Widespread Panic. Definitely a very interesting band, and I'm mainly putting this together, like I said at the beginning, as a tribute to Jimmy Herring. I mean, also as a tribute to Widespread Panic, of course, too. But I'm a huge Jimmy Herring fan. I mean, he taught at my school. I've saw him with the Dead. I've met him at summer NAMM shows. I actually wrote a lesson for Guitar Player magazine. That was back in 2017 with Widespread Chaos. And that was a Jimmy Herring lesson that I put together. So definitely, I'm a huge fan. I have a lot of his music, on CD and stuff, and I was really happy to finally have something with him, on vinyl. But very interesting, riffs and chord ideas and stuff hiding in this episode. And I'm going to follow this at some point in the future. I'm going to basically serve up a Jimmy Herring chord play and kind of look at some of the, chord ideas that he's put together in various groups and bands that he's worked with. It's definitely a very exciting and dynamic guitarist, and Widespread is actually a really cool band, so check them out. So anyway, leave some feedback and comments. Please subscribe to my lessons, and I'll be back before you know with more content and material. Thank you.